Hi, good morning, everyone. This is the April 25th Jupyter Dev meeting. We've got a number of things to talk about this morning. We'll start with looking at the action items from last week. And those of you who are in the meeting right now, feel free to check off things that are done. First, we had from Carol a request from a contributor on Gitter to have a landing page for Dropbox paper weekly meeting notes so that the link is consistent week to week. So this seems like a useful thing to do. So one thing that I did was I changed the link up at the top of the meeting notes. So under the main header for this month, it says April 2017 Jupyter weekly meetings. Right at the bottom there, there's a short paragraph that says, for the moderator, please share a verbal reminder that they can go to the meeting notes. And I changed the link. So the link now is a bit.ly link that takes folks to the directory of all of our meeting notes. So, how's this sound? Can I get a thumbs up?
Must be me. Okay.
Okay, thanks guys. So I changed the link. So for folks to access the link, I need to give them permission. So when you click the link, I'll get a message that says, do you want to give whoever is asking access to this page? So if you guys want to go ahead and click that link at the top of the meeting notes, and then I can make sure everybody on the call today has access to that page, and then anyone who's watching this can do the same, and I'll give you access. Hopefully we can kind of smooth out the kinks in this so it's more open in the future, but that's the short-term solution to being able to see all the archive meetings. Okay, so Fernando is going to join us silently in a couple minutes. Great, so thanks for checking that off. Next, Ian created the action item. Ian's our action item guru, so it might have his initials on it, but it may be an action item for somebody else. So IPyWidgets needs to check its minimal notebook dependency, test and document that. So I think that was for Jason and Sylvan. So Jason, when you're able to do that, let's go ahead and circle back and check this one off.
Yeah, as soon as release a beta, we're going to hit documentation and testing quite hard, and we'll check compatibility when we do that.
Okay, great. Do you mind just adding those details to the notes so when we circle back, we know exactly what the timing is? And I'll know when to ask the question again. All right, so back to earlier in April, March, and February, Grant and I set a goal for resolving 50% of the Jupyter Notebook issues by the end of April. Well, this is the end of April. So Grant's been super busy this week. Actually, this month since we set the goal of wrapping this up. So I went through yesterday. I was able to close about a dozen issues. Since we set the goal, 100 new issues have been created. So it's pretty amazing how challenging it is to get ahead of this. But I'm going to keep working away on this week, and we'll see how far I get and how far Grant and I get. So we may need to move the milepost on our goal a little bit. But we are making progress, and we're closing issues that have been open for over 2 years. So folks in the community are being responsive. So if you are a member who we've pinged, thanks so much for responding quickly and have helped us close those issues. All right. So let's see. Jupyter Lab extension handling is undergoing a major change. I think we know that. So once this lands, we would like others to kick the tires on it by writing extensions. So that's still an ask. And then finally, Matthias is still looking for feedback on his async REPL implementation. All right, so weekly news by organization. We have posts for IPython Jupyter, Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Widgets, and Jupyter Hub. if you go to the Jupyter notebook pulse, which is in GitHub itself, you can see how far ahead we are in terms of new issues versus resolved issues. So it's nice to start getting ahead of the curve. And the weekly news is available via the Dropbox paper files or stored in the news repo, and there's a link there. All right, so on the project management side, I've been focused on closing some of these issues, and I've been doing some research on the HackPad migration, so I hope to have that done by the end of the week. I just need to resolve some permissions questions that I have. So I'm not really an owner in the HackPad world, more on the Dropbox side. So I want to make sure that I set it up so other people on the team have access to the documents after I do it, and it's just not associated with my account. So that's requiring a little bit more research. All right, the next section is IPython, and I don't think Matthias is with us today. So we'll just 6.0 came out last week. So congratulations to Matthias and Mike and Ian, who worked super hard on that last week and got it out, and anyone else, obviously, who helped with the IPython release. All right, we're getting some, cool. Thank you. So next, Notebook, Grant and Thomas. Grant is not able to make it today, but Thomas, did you have anything you want to share on the Notebook front?
No, not particularly.
Okay. Thanks for responding to some of those pings on those older issues that we're clearing out. All right, so NB convert. Mike, are you ready? Do you want us to circle back?
No, that's fine. This week I'm going to be talking with the group here in Berkeley about sort of the user story and user experience type notions that we have for configurable exports, and more generally how we picture people doing that. And so if anyone has any feedback or any thoughts on that, please get in touch with me, because I'd love to have that feedback before, say, Thursday. Then I still need to write the docs for the configurable export from within the notebook bit. One of the main discussions around the user experience and stuff like that has to do with the idea of storing. Right now, if you wanted to convert a notebook multiple times using the same custom configuration, you would need to upload it every time. And sort of how to solve the fact that sucks if you are iterating over, like, actually building that notebook. One solution is something like a global resource, or a global set of templates, or not templates, global set of configs that any notebook could then pop into, but then you still have the problem of searching and finding it. Another solution could be something like associating a particular config with a notebook, for example, by storing something in the metadata. So that, or even multiple configs, if say you have multiple different outputs, or you want to say have a single report that produces, a single notebook that produces multiple reports from multiple audiences based on, say, tagging and filtering out elements. So those are the sorts of things that we're thinking about. Yeah.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. The sound on my end is pretty scratchy. I am getting most of the content, but is there a way to?
Oh,
It's good here. It seems like it's a link between you two.
Yeah, because
okay.
I was having issues with yours earlier as well. But if I'm sounding fine, oh, that's a really weird bug then, because I had thought that it was communicating with a central hub and then re-communicating it out, not doing a pairwise thing.
Okay, it sounds like it's okay for everybody else. So
I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll catch it on the video.
Well, oh well. So yeah, different things like that. I don't remember where I was, but thinking about how to solve that kind of a problem, what exactly we want to do in that domain, and I'm actually pretty sure that that's going to influence how I write the docs, which is sort of why I'm holding off. The other big thing was one of the other big things is I spoke with Tony Fast and Matthias. We met for like a day and looked at some of his stuff around like MD convert, which has a nice way of like actually specifying notebook metadata using a YAML, like inline YAML with the cell magic, which is cool. And I actually think we might want to consider like at least as a way of configuring metadata, like transitorily supporting something like that, even if we don't encourage people to keep that in the notebook long term. But there's a bunch of other cool things that he has. That Fidget is another one of his projects. And then one of the other things that is on my plate right now is I'm on the committee, this proceedings committee. I'm one of the chairs for SciPy this year. And I was asked by another one of the chairs to figure out how to get notebooks as first class like submissions to SciPy. So that probably is going to become a project that is going to take up a lot of my time because I'm going to be working on the build server anyway. And if anyone has any thoughts on that or wants to contribute and help out, I'm probably going to be able to handle it, but I obviously, like, there are going to be things that I could use help from people on. So if you're interested, let me know. And then yeah, that mostly covers it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mike? No. All right. So I don't think Pete's here today. Let's see. Nope. All right. So Pete and Min are away today, so we'll just pass through services and dashboards and move on to Jupyter Lab. Steve, Darian, and Chris.
Okay. Go ahead, Darren. Yeah.
So the single document, multiple document feature that came in a little while ago, we got some feedback on it, and now it does things like restore its state and remember when you toggle back and forth, remember the layout you had and intelligently deal with added or removed tabs, and also remember when you refresh the page. There's some refactoring of the document manager API, the service manager API, and the file browser so that more work is happening in the document manager instead of the file browser itself, to sort of make the file browser more of a simple, thin client to that stuff rather than doing a lot of the logic. And the extension work, I think Steve should probably talk about it, but it's coming together, and it's a lot simpler than all the earlier revisions, but I think the most qualified person to talk about it is Steve, so I'll hand that off to him.
All right. Thanks, Darian. So we released 0.20 on Friday, which was a bold move. And so that includes single document mode and the new extension system, which is more, from a user standpoint, it's more like installing an npm package than the complicated mechanism that it was before. Sorry, for the user, the command is essentially the same, but for the extension author, it's more like producing an npm package. So for them, it's a more standard workflow. What we're still working through is because there's no longer a notion of you are running a core Jupyter lab that is extensible to having a target Jupyter lab that is a result of being extended. So where you can have multiple things flowing into one versus multiple things flowing out into a runtime directory. We're having trouble rectifying what that looks like in terms of what's the default location for that, because the previous extension mechanisms don't quite cover that use case. So there's active discussion on that, and I apologize if I'm not making sense. I'm under the weather today, but there's active discussion on how to handle that, and I link to the issues, the appropriate issues. So we're we're hoping to get through that pretty soon, and that's one of the last major things that we'd like to get done for the beta release. That's it.
Cool. Beta release. I'm so excited for this. All right. It'll be great. All right. Anything else, Jupyter Lab folks? Chris, anything? No.
No,
Yes?
not really.
Okay. I went no. All right, great. Thank you so much, guys. Next, IPy widgets, Jason and Sylvan.
Yeah, so we made a lot of progress towards widget 7 beta, in particular serializing widget state to the notebook for embedded widgets and making the output widget also essentially store its output as state, which makes it consistent with other widgets and helps us be able to have output widgets in embedded widgets and saved notebooks, etc. We have basically one last big beta blocker, which is another iteration on how versioning and packaging should work. And we've made a lot of progress in the design, and should be opening up a PR for this today, at least the start of a PR. And we also tested out the Jupyter Lab extension system and updated to the 0.20 release, 0.20 release, and everything worked great. It was actually pretty painless. I was impressed. And we had one new contributor who gave us an important fix on some documentation.
Cool. That's fun. All right, thank you, Jason. Next, Jupyter Hub. Carol.
Hi, everybody. Things are going well on Jupyter Hub. A lot of good stuff being done on the 0 to Jupyter Hub with Kubernetes documentation. We actually had somebody use it the other day and easily deploy it, and it was somebody who had tried to deploy it maybe 6 months ago and couldn't. So that's really encouraging, and more work on that. Some more like cleanup stuff on OAuth and documentation, and then we're gonna try and triage everything. Min's out this week, so I don't anticipate a whole lot of new stuff this week. So, yeah.
Thank you. Next, we've got some of our other projects going on. Grant, are you on the call? Looks like he's just adding his update. Okay, so it's on renderer extensions. Grant will update MIME renderer dash cookie cutter, Jupyter Lab JSON, Jupyter Lab GeoJSON, Jupyter Lab table, and Jupyter Vega, which was formerly Jupyter Lab Vega, to use the new extension system introduced by Jupyter Lab 0.20 or 0.20 today. Then Grant says he'll also publish these extensions to PyPI and NPM this week. Lab users don't need to install Python packages to install extensions anymore. They can use Jupyter Lab extension install extension _name, and Lab will look for an NPM module by that name and install it. Woo! All right. So thanks, Grant. Any questions for Grant? Nope. Okay. So cool beans. Next, we've got our conferences and outreach section. We continue to update the project calendar. We've got EuroPython. It's new in the list. It's been out for a while. That's going to be July 9th through 16th in Rimini, Italy. There's the link there in the meeting notes. And Thomas submitted a Jupyter talk in the education track. So that's awesome. Thanks, Thomas. And then we have our growing list of already announced conferences that you can just go on over to the events calendar to see the full display. Carol just returned from CodeLand. That was last week. It sounded like it was pretty fun. Do you have anything you want to share with the group on CodeLand?
It was great. I mean, folks are using the notebook, and folks that our users that hadn't seen the notebook yet really were excited when they did see it. So, good stuff happening all around.
Neat. That's great. So Sylvan is at Craft 2017 Budapest, and that goes till the 28th. He's giving a tutorial on IPyWidgets, so we'll hear updates from him next week when he comes to visit us at Berkeley. Next week is also PlotCon in Oakland, so a number of us will be attending PlotCon, and Kyle's giving a talk, Sylvan's giving a talk or a tutorial, and I think Jason, are you coming to that?
I'm coming. Another Bloomberg person, Srinu.
Oh, that's right. BQ
Srinivas
plot.
Sankara is going to be talking about BQ plot, so widgets.
Okay, great. All right.
But I'm coming and I'm visiting you guys, but I'm not talking at PlotCon.
Oh, good. Great. All right. Come on over to Berkeley. That would be great to see you. What else? So PyCon, again, this is our super busy month, May. So PyCon's coming up. A number of us from Berkeley will be attending, giving talks and tutorials. Does anyone, I don't want to go through the whole list because I know I go through this every week. So for folks who are attending conferences and giving talks and tutorials, is there anything that you need from the team to help support you for your event?
Anybody attending JuliaCon? I think it's at Berkeley this year.
Oh, we're not, but we could.
When is it?
Somewhere in the next 2 months, I think. I'll look.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that would be a good thing for us to go to.
I hope so, since Fernando's a keynote speaker, it looks like.
Well, Fernando will be going.
I was thinking of going, but when are the dates? It's hard to tell.
Call for
it looks like
proposal
June
closed
20th
31st.
to 24th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Carol.
Sure.
And Jason. Okay, so JupyterCon, we're plugging along with JupyterCon. The soft launch for registration started last week, and the link's right there. So if you can click on that link, you should be able to register for JupyterCon. You can try it out. All right, governance, no governance updates for this week. Action items for this week. If you have thoughts on user stories for configurable exports from the notebook interface, go ahead and ping Mike. Any other action items, folks? We just have one. Everybody's just plugging along. All right, great. So last week we released a bunch of stuff. Jupyter Hub NBR session proxy that went out Monday the 17th. Jupyter Lab 0.20 with single document mode and IPython 6.0. All right, thanks for the details on Jupyter Lab. Any releases planned for this week? Oh, all right, quiet week. And then under our to be released soon, we have NBDime 0.3 with GitRef support from Min. So great. All right, folks. Does anyone have anything outside of notes that they'd like to share with the team? New. Okay. Well, great. Thanks so much for your time. And we'll see you next week. Bye, Internet.